Kia ora, welcome to Central News. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. In today's news, Colours Hair Company in Hamilton has come up with an idea to help mums of sick children feel beautiful. They've teamed up with True Colours Children's Health Trust and are offering 50 mums a chance to be pampered. Joanne Rusden from Colours Hair Company explains.
So the Pamper Day that we're doing it was really an expression for us to be able to give back to our community. As a group of people, we wanted to do something that we can contribute. And we came up with this idea of joining together with True Colours and having a day where we get the mums that look after sick children to come in and just have some attention on themselves so that they actually feel beautiful, feel great. We're going to give them complimentary blow waves, cuts and blow waves, beautiful coffee, yummy food, hand massages, paint their nails and just make them feel great. At the end, we're taking a Polaroid of them so that they can go away and put that on their fridge so that in those moments when they're exhausted and tired, they can look at that picture and remind themselves they're a beautiful person that makes a difference to another human being. And that's why we wanted to do it.
Waikato Regional Council staff and contractors are expected to spend several weeks helping landowners near Te Aroha deal with the aftermath of Cyclone Ita, which hit Coromandel and surrounding areas just before Easter. An assessment after the holiday weekend indicated the council's part in the clean-up would cost around $50,000 to $60,000. That will be met by a special fund set up for such occasions. Hauraki Area Manager Jason Roxburgh says an example of the problems is that one stream bed is more than 2 metres lower than it was before the flooding, showing just how strong the flow of water was. More animal lovers are being urged to microchip their pets as figures show the owners of 1 in 5 Tauranga dogs can't be traced after their dogs are impounded. The issue extends to the wider Western Bay community, where it's believed as many 40% of all dogs aren't microchipped, putting dogs and their owners at an even greater risk of never being reunited if the dog is lost or stolen and then later recovered by authorities. With such a large proportion of the dog population not microchipped, Tauranga Vets is discounting their microchipping service for 1 week from April 28th to May the 4th. All 3 clinics in Tauranga, Te Puna and Katikati will microchip animals for just $15. In sport, and the Waikato Advice First Pistons take on the Super City Rangers at home this Saturday, April the 26th at Hamilton Boys High School. Tickets will be available on the door with adult tickets just $12 and children $8. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. And after suffering their first loss of the competition against the Pulse 2 weeks ago, the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic bounced back to defeat the Northern Mystics 56-50 in Hamilton last Sunday. That was enough to retain second place on the points table of the Trans-Tasman Netball League. The win left a smile on the face of coach Julie Fitzgerald, who's looking for more of the same this weekend when the Magic take on the Adelaide Thunderbirds at the Energy Events Centre in Rotorua. Play starts at 7:20. Time to take a look at the marine forecast now, with Raglan expecting a nor'west of 15 knots, high tide at 25 minutes to 7 tomorrow morning. And over the hill to Tauranga now, with a westerly of 15 knots expected. High tide at 3:39 p.m. Coming up after the break, we speak with Waikato Pistons coach Pero Cameron. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. After a break of 2 seasons, the Waikato Pistons are back and looking to rebuild their fan base and reputation. I recently spoke with head coach Pero Cameron about his plans for the team and the current season. Pero Cameron, welcome to Central News. You've most recently been coach of the Wellington Saints, and now you're back with the Waikato Pistons, where you spent most of your playing days. Yeah. What's it like being back as coach?
Oh, it's great. It's it was great with the Saints. 4 years of experience I had there. Had a lot of success, but it's great to be back here with the Pistons. This was my first NBL team as a 17, 18-year-old, and I really enjoyed it. I rode the pine, so to speak, and paid my dues in my early years. and was able to get a break the next year. But it was very good. I had a mentor there, Murray McMahon, as my coach, and he was great for me over the years. And I've really enjoyed my time here.
What would you say your biggest challenge in your coaching career has been so far?
There's a lot of different issues you encounter. Every year you learn, and what you put in is you get out. Pretty much is pretty much the rule of thumb there. But I think just dropping the athlete tag or the player tag and being a coach and gaining the respect in the eyes of your athletes and your player and your team and even the assistant coaches and the community as a coach. That's probably the biggest thing, is trying to break through those walls and help develop a team and bring them together. And because everybody's different, everybody's got different experiences, and you got to try and mould them to go one direction and hopefully get some success.
How do you do that? How do you get a team to gel, especially in basketball? You have a lot of players from different countries, different cultures.
It's the connection. It's a connection between the coach, the staff, the support group with the players. It's their connection with each other. And that's the great thing about team sport. It's the connections and the group dynamics that come together that enable you to put a performance, a nice kind of product out on the floor that go ahead and achieve. And as it grows and grows and grows. But the competition is a small window, and sometimes it happens easy and sometimes it doesn't happen at all, and it could be the difference between a couple of players' personnel, could be the difference between what's going on in certain people's lives to make it all work. And as a coach, as an athlete, as an owner, you got to try and find out what it is. Physios and wives and everybody has input, and their interaction affects about how it moves.
Everyone's got to be on the same page.
Yeah, it's just like going to work. If things aren't great at home, things could be average at work. Things are great at home, you go to work, things start rolling a lot smoother.
Happy wife, happy life, Pero. All the boys need to know, happy wife, happy life. Now tell me, when you're looking at an import, do you look at your team and go, oh, okay, we're missing this, and then do you look, or are you actually just looking for a person and going, we want him?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's word of mouth, asking past coaches, asking agents, asking past teams, teammates, and how they reacted and how they were to deal with, and eventually the quality, what they put on the court, how they make the team work. And a point guard, that's their job, is to make the team, the gelling faster, because they've got to get on with the 7-foot guy who's usually a lovely gentleman, and then they got to get on with the young guy who's thinks he's a bit better than he really is, and you got to make it all work. And out there on the court, and it's such a fast game that it's hard to stop every 3-4 seconds. It's just going and going and going.
Now, we've got a lot of homegrown talent too. We don't necessarily need imports. We could just be purely Kiwi-based, because you've got the High Performance Academy happening in Hamilton. Tell me about this.
Yeah, that was something, the Waikato Basketball Association or Council set up, and it's to get young players and develop their talent and develop them as players to a higher level earlier, so that when they are 17 to 22, they are good enough. They have had some quality experiences, and they have learned to train really hard, and they have learned all the new ins and outs and vocab that comes with the sport and the changing of the way the style is played. So it's really tough because it's that time of life where university and socialising and different aspects come into your life, and they've got to make that decision.
Have you got some good players in that academy, ones to watch?
So we really do 13s and 15s.
Yes.
And obviously we do look at 17s and 19s.
Yes.
And we try and build them from there. We have a couple of young guys in our squad who are in the last year of high school, the first 2 years outside of high school. And we've got some other kids who are going on to college.
Yes.
So they're not here for the whole season. But hopefully, we do right by them, that, later they do right by us and come back to the team.
Come back to the Pistons. We want them here.
Yes.
Pero Cameron, we're rapt that you're back in the Waikato.
Cheers.
It's kind of where you belong. And go the Pistons.
Yeah, thank you. It's really warm here at the moment. I'm enjoying my time.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
The Waikato Pistons play at home this Saturday, the 26th of April at Hamilton Boys High School, taking on Super City Rangers. Tickets are available at the door and tip-off is at 7 p.m. Up next on Central News, we talk crayfish and scallop numbers. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. More than 30,000 recreational fishers and environmentalists have joined a campaign asking the Ministry of Primary Industries, Nathan Guy, to make a favourable decision to enhance depleted crayfish and scallop numbers. The call has come after the beginning of the commercial fishing year on April 1st, and Legacy says commercial crayfishers are lifting over 2 million pots a year. Hillary caught up with Legacy's spokesperson Adam Alagazer to find out the latest.
So in the Cray 2 area, which is from sort of Hauraki Gulf down through to East Cape, so that includes the Bay of Plenty, the government has actually reduced the commercial crayfish quota by 15%. Now that might sort of sound like a good thing, but the reality is that all that's doing is stopping further damage, and it's going to keep the crayfish level of abundance at a very depleted level. It really doesn't make much difference or doesn't aid in rebuilding it. Commercial fishers can operate in a low abundance environment. They just lay more and more pots is how they cope with a low abundant environment. Whereas recreational fishers, for example, when we're actually not allowed to lay more pots, we can only lay 3 pots a day. And if we don't catch crayfish in those pots, then it's come home empty-handed. So recreational fishers are really unhappy that the ministers decided instead of meaningful rebuild to the cray fishery, that he's gone for keep it at the same level, which recreational fishers are just not happy at.
Do you think then that recreational fishers are a part of the problem?
I mean, definitely not. If you look at the data, recreational fishers have a 140 tonne per annum allowance. We're only able to catch 28% of that. So we're leaving, 72% of the crayfish we're allowed entitled to in the water. The fishery is still depleted.
If we keep taking our crayfish, how are they meant to replenish themselves?
Oh, well, I mean, quite simply, they just won't. If we keep taking, especially the larger size crayfish, there'll be, the breeding stock won't be there. We'll just see a continual decline. More and more commercial fishing effort will be required to catch their quota. Already we're seeing a huge increase in the amount of pots around the place. I mean, I was diving out at Karewa Island, which is just off the coast here, over the end of last year, and a small little dot of an island, and there's 22 commercial cray pots around it, to the point where you couldn't actually get your boat sort of anywhere near the island. We dived it a couple of days later and we didn't see a single crayfish. So we're already at this point where replenishment is a big issue. We're close to a position where the stock could be deemed collapsed, and we really need to do something about it. Commercial fishers might be happy operating in that environment, but recreational fishers certainly aren't.
What action is Legacy taking against the minister?
This year we're planning a really large political campaign. All these decisions are political, which is unfortunate, but the public need to play their part. We're not going to tell people who to vote for, but we're certainly going to show people what they're voting for, and we want it to be clear and concise and easy to digest. With 1 million Kiwis who fish annually in New Zealand, there's bound to be a large portion of those people who are undecided on who they're going to vote for, and something like this could be enough to tip them either way.
If you would like to sign the petition, you can go to legacy.co.nz/Cray Scallop. Child's Wonder Daycare Centre in Papamoa has become Tauranga's most forward-thinking early childhood education centre. The centre has changed from using disposable nappies during the day to using cloth nappies full-time with the help of the nappy lady, Kate Meads, who's supported by Tauranga City Council's Waste Minimisation Program. Hilary spoke to the ladies behind the decision to go green.
Well, we as a centre were approached by Kate Mead, the nappy lady, and she's supported by the Tauranga City Council in her initiative to promote cloth nappies. And we thought it was a great opportunity to get on board with the cloth nappies because we were always aware of how much waste goes into our environment and the amount of waste that we as a centre generate. So it was an opportunity for us to take a step forward and a great leap of faith with our families.
It's one thing for a mother to make that decision to move to cloth nappies, but a daycare centre, I mean, surely the washing pile's grown.
Yeah, it has definitely taken our initiative to take a little bit of time to get used to it. We have on average about 10 children using the cloth nappies with 3 to 4 changes a day. So we have employed a staff member for 3 hours in the afternoon to support us with that washing. We do about 2 nappy loads a day and that's just so that we can have them all ready and fresh for the next day.
So you have hired another person. I mean, are the costs counteracting the benefits?
I think having Val, who's our staff member who does the laundry, she's actually added to our day because she's not just doing the nappies, she's also maintaining our other washing that we do. We've got sleep bedding, cloths and bibs and various towels that we use throughout the day. So that is definitely helping and supporting our teaching staff on the floor.
Why now then did you decide to make the switch?
Well, with Kate's support, it was a great opportunity because we as a centre didn't want to spend the money on purchasing the cloth nappies, nor did we want the families to spend that money until we actually really knew that it was going to work from a centre's point of view. With Kate supporting us, she actually provides you with the nappies to use during the trial. And before taking on board the whole project on a permanent basis, it gives centres the opportunity to weigh up the positives and negatives of the project and then work with the families and move forward from there.
Are there any other daycare centres that you know of that have made the switch to cloth nappies?
There's one more centre that we're aware of, and that's in Auckland, KiwiCare. But I know that Kate's initiative is actually working with other centres, and hopefully as a model centre, other centres will follow suit.
150 years ago, Tauranga was born with the Battle of Gate Pa. We find out more next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. On April the 29th, there will be a huge celebration for the 150th commemoration of the Battle of Gate Pa. What Māori did all those years ago was quite impressive, and Hilary spoke with Buddy McCarty recently to find out more.
Well, it's one of the first, it's the only battle really where Māori is regarded as having won the battle, but I think it's more about the fact that because of the numbers, 1,700 I think versus about 230, it was thought that this would be pretty easy stuff, and after an all-day bombardment, I think the soldiers and sailors charged into the Pa not expecting to find anybody alive, and so it came as a big shock when suddenly all the Māori just popped up out of their hidden trenches and blazed away, killing a large number of the soldiers and sailors that were first in, but more importantly I think they killed a lot of the officers who were leading the charge, and so quite leaderless it turned into a bit of a rout and they all just turned around and ran away. It didn't carry on of course because the Māoris had run out of ammunition, so during the night they all snuck away, but it's during the night I think that the thing that the Legion of Gate Pa is born, which is that all these wounded soldiers that were lying about the battlefield, some of the Māori went out and took them water and that kind of thing, and so it's that kind of gallant action that they're remembered for.
They were, however, defeated though 7 weeks later?
Yes, the next battle at Tauranga, which is about a couple of miles from here, the troops came upon them while they were still preparing their defences, and so it was a bit of a wipeout really. They turned up with cannons and they hadn't had time to build the same kind of defences, and so there were quite a number of the Māori defenders were killed on that day, and that's regarded as being the last battle of the whole entire Waikato Wars period.
Now, why were the British so interested in Tauranga at the time?
Oh, well, they were interested in Tauranga because it was a supply point for the fighting in the Waikato, so there were arms and ammunition and food going over from Tauranga to them, so they wanted to put a blockade on the port and stop the local Māori from doing that, and so that's what the interest was. But also, anybody who lives in Tauranga knows what a great place it is in terms of climate and soils and all that kind of thing, so quite a rich area, and so eagerly wanted by people wanting to settle in New Zealand.
How much land was confiscated after the battle?
The initial confiscation was 50,000 acres, which is the area that makes up the bulk of downtown Tauranga and the bulk of the city today. That's why it's looked upon as being the birth of the city, the events that followed. And that's what the claim to the Waitangi Tribunal has been all about, that 50,000 acres plus other events that happen around the city.
The day's celebration will start with a dawn ceremony at the battle site. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, you'll have occasional rain with westerlies, expected highs 21 and an overnight low is 11. Pāroa, expect occasional rain with westerlies with a high of 22 and low of 11. Matamata, same for you, expected highs 19 with a low of 11. And Te Awamutu and Tokoroa can expect occasional showers with westerlies. Te Awamutu, you have 21 and Tokoroa 18 is your expected high. Heading to the Bay of Plenty now, and Tauranga can expect a cloudy day with showers, expected highs 22 degrees with a low of 15. Te Puke, same for you with an expected high of 19 and an overnight low of 14. That's Central News for today. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you join us on our Facebook page as well and let us know of any news or events that are happening in your community. Make sure you join us tomorrow for a very special Anzac Day edition of Central News. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.